as creative as numbers are and amazing as they are, there's also so many choices for how you want to handle your money and what you want to do with it. And so that's a real frustration with me that so many people are saying, you got to do 1, 2, and 3, and that's it. That is not true by any means. We're so unique. Our financial system should be unique.
Your network is your net worth. Come listen to some of the most successful people I know share invaluable knowledge, stories, and advice in real estate, business, and beyond. This is Weiss Advice. Whether you want to take your business or personal life to the next level, look no further. Welcome back to another episode of Weiss Advice. I am your host, as always, Yona Weiss, and I am excited to be here today with another great guest, Teshra Stephan Robles, all the way from the middle of nowhere in Idaho. I like to say that, even though, it's somewhere on the map. I'm sure if I looked carefully, I could find it. No, it's great to have you on the show. Very grateful. Just want to put it out there at the very beginning for Julie Holly, a mutual friend who is apparently your next door neighbor, for introducing us. And any friend of Julie's is a friend of ours. So welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm doing absolutely great. So I'm going to have to say, you mentioned in the middle of nowhere. Well, it's actually somewhere. I'm going to have to say it's the where. So
the place
Julie
to be.
I absolutely live in heaven. So just been thrown out there.
Bonners Ferry, Idaho, up in the northern part of that little strip of the map.
Yeah, the farthest right corner you can get to is where we're at. So
awesome. Well, good for you. Well, welcome to the show. I'd love to, you have, from what I've heard and what we discussed the other day and just kind of reading your bio, you have a pretty incredible journey that's led you to where you are in life. And I'd just love to hear about it. So please give our listeners a little background of who we're talking to today.
Okay, sure. So I was born in Texas and would probably still be in Texas if it wasn't for my dad picking us up and moving us to Hawaii and the North Shore of Hawaii. So I grew up pretty much on the North Shore of Hawaii, very different place for a little Howley girl to be. But that was such a great experience. Absolutely loved it. And then I ended up finishing up high school, actually living in Waikiki. So kind of my life seemed to start out with just really different extremes, going from a very rural, very ethnic place to a very, very big city type of place. When I was in Los Angeles, moved down to San Diego for 25 years. Love to know what part you're from at some point. Yeah. And so did the big city thing, and then always wanted to live in a small town, and just picked up and moved to Bonners Ferry one day. And it's been absolutely great. So I was fortunate enough to start in accounting. Absolutely love numbers. Took me a little while to discover that I loved it, but boy, once I fell into it, I thought, this is just, numbers are so crazy. The way God created them just really blows me away. And so then went on and decided that instead of going into being a lawyer, the corporate world, I started my first dream job, and that was to be a stay-at-home mom. And so I have 4 sons and a daughter, and the daughter's the youngest. She's 15, so I'm almost done with the parenting. We're pretty close, and that's been super fun. Then I went into banking, and I was in banking for about 11 years. And so I learned a lot of banking, confidentiality, options, the huge corporate world. And it was awesome because, once again, I talked about I've had the 2 sides of everything. I was going into banking, kind of backwards. I had learned the accounting side of the business, but then had to learn the accounting side from the customer's point of view. So all my life, I've had these paradigms kind of hitting up against each other, which is wonderful for perspectives. And it's been pretty great. So I did that. And then I realized that I liked working more than I liked being at home. And that had to change. So I quit my W-2 job September of 2022 and started my own business. Wow. And so now I don't have to be a body, which, no offense against the banking world, but a lot of it requires the nature of the business. And so now I just create my own schedule. I do things that I want to do, and I'm able to get my real passion in life, which is to get people to put personal finances as their utmost business, because that's going to fuel all their life's freedom. It's going to fuel their real estate, what they want to do in life. And it's way too important, and it always gets shoved under the rug. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. It's a fascinating story. Just quickly to interject there, I was in San Diego for just a short period of time, 3 years. I went to San Diego State University, so the college area.
Me too. One semester.
That was probably enough for you, right?
Yeah. It was too big. I think the semester that I went there, the very next year was when they announced that your degree is going to take 5 years instead of 4. And I was like, I think I'm out. So yeah, it's a big school. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, exactly. Well, I did it in 3, so I guess that works. But
congratulations, that's awesome. Very cool. I was in the wrong field.
Yeah, exactly, right? You just figure out how to get through quickly. But it's fascinating that you talk about how much you love numbers, and it's amazing because there's some people that just get that. And I love that, God created people like you in the world because, numbers are not for everyone. But
no, definitely not. Yes.
But having your financial, I guess, well-being, let's put it that way, taken care of or at least thought about, considered. You mentioned like people push it under the rug. I think what it comes from is that people aren't educated about it from the beginning. I mean, I didn't learn about finances in school. My parents taught me very, very little about it. And I think that's, the same for the majority of people out there.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. I was very fortunate. I went to Puno High School in Honolulu, and it's very much a preparatory academy, prepping you for college. But they're also huge on life skills. We were learning how to take notes in 6th grade. We were learning public speaking in 7th grade, things like that. And we were taught a lot of these financial things. So coming out of high school, I knew all this stuff that was out there. And you just assume that everybody else knows, but they just don't. And it has nothing to do with the fact that they're dumb. It has nothing to do with the fact that they're not looking. It's just not mainstream. And a lot of it is just go out, make your money, spend it however you want to, and just try to get more and try to do better. And you're like, well, hold on a second. Let's start with some foundational tools and some foundational choices that we can make, because then you have the culture side that says, this is the way you do it. This is the only road you can take. And that's all we're going to talk about. And you're like, wait a second. As creative as numbers are and amazing as they are, there's also so many choices for how you want to handle your money and what you want to do with it. And so that's a real frustration with me that so many people are saying, you got to do 1, 2, and 3, and that's it. That is not true by any means. We're so unique. Our financial system should be unique.
I mean, so how do you figure that out? I mean, obviously you have to sit down with every individual and figure out what their situation is and what's best for them.
You do, absolutely. The key to that, though, is if you can sit down with someone and say, do you know exactly, and I hate to say down to the penny, but it is kind of true. Do you know exactly all your money that's coming in? Mm-hmm. Do you know exactly all your money that's going out? Do you know where it's coming from? And do you know where it's going to? That doesn't take a lot of creativity. Sure. That just takes we just got to know. And most people just don't know that. And so if you can get them to, what I'm so excited about is that computers nowadays, they're learning programs. You hit a few buttons and boom, you've got whatever information you want. And if you can keep it simple, the whole KISS, keep it simple, stupid, right? That we write on the top of our papers, right, before we take tests. If you can keep those systems in front of you on a regular basis, and you can keep the system that is working for you at the time that you know how to use, 5 or 6 little buttons you need to push, not 300,000 different options in some big software system, then staying on top of that, you're going to know the answers to those questions. And once you know the answers to those questions, where it's going, where it's coming from, then you can start to make decisions. Mm-hmm. And so that would be the second prong to it, is that when you start to make decisions, you really have to understand about opportunity cost. And opportunity cost is so important because if I have 2 cookies on the table, and if I eat both of them right now, then before bedtime, I don't get to sit and relax and have 2 cookies. It's just an opportunity cost. Right. But if I don't eat them now, then I'm not going to enjoy that instant gratification of enjoying those cookies. And that's how it is with finance. It's very, very simple. When one thing goes away, something is going to come in. When something comes in, something else is going to go away. It's all about choices. Mm-hmm. So I would say that those 2 prongs are really, really key. to getting everybody individualized.
So is it, I mean, just like, are there any specific softwares like QuickBooks or something you're talking about, or have you developed anything that's, even better? If you can say that.
I would so love to develop a software program, but I'm in my mid-50s, so I'm going to enjoy doing other things. So absolutely love Excel. I think it's the most fantastic thing that was ever created next to numbers. However, Excel can be there's a lot of things you have to learn to use. And if you're not a numbers person, then you have to learn how to use it. So let's kind of scrap that. QuickBooks Online, the business QuickBooks Online, is one of the programs that I use. And I have a few reasons for why I use that. When you are really sure that you get the concept that your personal finances are your most important business, you need to look at them from a business perspective. So I love to take the QuickBooks Online for Business, change all the chart of accounts into personal categories, and run it like a business. Then you could just take what is an awesome trick, run a profit and loss statement on your personal stuff, and you can see where everything's going, what you're doing, and then all you need to know is how to categorize it, how to look for if you categorize things wrong, how to reconcile, and then you spend 1 hour a week sitting down working with it. Boom. Let's see. One more tip. Maybe Tesra's phone number in case you get stuck. So those are your 5 little tips you need to know. Then, if for some reason you do go open your own business, or you do want to go on to use a money system for something, you've already learned how to use the business portion of QuickBooks. You don't have to go on to learn another system. Now, a lot of people don't like QuickBooks. It does some crazy, yucky things. I actually don't like it, but I like what it stands for. It is a complicated program because it can grow with you, which is amazing. That's what you want. It's also a program that is going to be around, and it's going to be around for a long time. Some of these other programs, I like them much better, but they are not in the forefront. A lot of banks don't download things with them. So QuickBooks is just kind of that. It's here to stay. And if you learn how to use it properly, it is just amazing. It's just, you see stuff instantly, and it's great, and it's simple. You just have to know how to use it. And that's where I come in, because I do. Yeah.
That's amazing. I never really thought about that, but that makes so much sense. Just to use QuickBooks Business, take your personal life, break it down into categories like that. I think that's an awesome tip.
Because if you really start to think about it like that, then you're like, okay, it does a few things. One, it helps separate a little bit of the emotion from it. I wish I had more money. I wish I wasn't spending so much money at Starbucks, all those wishing. You're like, okay, this is a business. Let's analyze it like at my work where I run my business. Let's analyze it like the business I'm running. You have to make really important decisions in the business world. So why aren't you making really important decisions in your personal world? And then the other thing it does is that it causes you to stay on top of it. And when you stay on top of it, it starts to get exciting. You go, ooh, I didn't spend that much money at McDonald's as I did last month. Ooh, all that money I'm trying to save for that trip to Italy, it's there. Like, I've done it now. Or I need to make more money. I need to pay off some debt, whatever it is. It's all right there in front of you.
Right.
So I think it's over here. I don't have time. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure you can turn it into a game of sorts, even, game the system a little and make it, have fun with it. It's your life.
Yeah. I always say when I teach people how to reconcile, they always get real scared about it. But man, when they see that little zero pop up, it's like, the heavens have opened and everything is perfect. The planets are aligned, because you know that everything is correct. So it's pretty exciting.
That's amazing.
So,
again, people, God created people like you to get excited about numbers and to teach the rest of us why we need to. So that's awesome. And I love that, you've kind of branded yourself. I mean, you have a company that's called Teshra Do You, right? And that's just you. I mean, that's your name. I mean, anyone could, I could have Yona Do You, right? Like that's.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But that's exactly, I want you to put your name in there.
Yeah.
And people walk around and they go, you can be anything you want to be. You can be so creative. You can, whatever it is in life that you want to, just go out and be it. And I would say, it's not going to pop into your lap while you're sitting on the couch. You need to go out and do it. And starting with your personal finances, that's where it all starts, because you are going to need money for everything. I don't care if you're a minimalist. I don't care if you want to live off grid, whatever it is, you still need money. And that's what's going to help fuel the doing you part. And it's just so foundational. And it's really, really gotten pushed to the side. And I don't quite understand why for so many people.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, again, maybe it just comes back to the society, the way that people are taught to
Yeah.
kind of live. I mean, you talked about being
Yeah.
in a bank and just kind of being a number, sort of just kind of being a person.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that
It
a
was a
lot of
great
societies
job, but
like that.
it was just the nature of it. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and and then part of that doing you, Yona, do you, if you are doing your passion and what you were put on this earth created to do, then you're going to be happier, and then you're going to go out and you're going to serve other people. So part of why I want people to get their personal finances in order is, one, so they can go out and do themselves to whatever that means to them. They
Mhm.
can go after that freedom in life, whatever that means to them. But then they can also go out and serve. And of course, everyone says, oh, yes, serve, get back to the community. But I'm talking about serving in the way that you want to serve. And that could be serving to your children. It could be serving to cancer foundations. It could be serving to somebody who's selling an amazing coaching program that you know is going to push you forward. But you can't buy that because your personal finances aren't in order. So then you can't serve that person who is building their coaching business. So, the word serve, it's got so many different aspects, just like freedom does.
Right.
I think is a huge part of that doing you.
So how do you do you? Meaning, tell me how you came up with that and how you, I mean, through life, obviously you've lived, a few years, have experiences, 5 kids and youngest being 15. I mean, you've learned quite a bit. Having kids and having teenagers, I'm sure, teaches you quite a bit. I have 3 teenagers myself now. And
oh, you do? Oh my goodness. And you're still smiling. That's good.
well, I'm at my office now, so there.
Okay, gotcha. So I was an extra prayers to you because I remember those days. So yeah, I would have to say that earlier we talked a little bit about that. I always have the opposing forces. I started out as a young child, extremely wealthy. And then, we're talking like really wealthy. And then I was plopped into really poor. And we're talking like stealing toilet paper from school, biscuits for months on end type of poor. And then having to navigate out of that and having somehow or another, I always knew that no matter what you had, that's what you had to work with. So if you had 10 cents, that was really no different than having $10,000 because you still had to work with it, whatever, it meant. And I always kind of just knew what I had. And I think being able to see the 2 different extremes, I really saw that you're not going to be happy when you're poor, but you're also not going to be happy when you're wealthy unless you're really doing your true self. And of course, I have to really thank my school back in Hawaii because they didn't say, okay, be whatever you can be. They're like, okay, you're going to go to school from 7 a.m. to 11 o'clock at night. And you're going to study and you are going to do extracurricular activities and you're going to find what it is you want to do. And if there's something you want to do and it's not here, then we're going to find it for you. So I had that absolute support system of seeing that. But then also having 5 children, I just saw these 5 incredible human beings who, from having kids, you really don't think there can be another child just as unique and wonderful as the ones you've had before. Like, how does that happen? And so I was just determined to stay at home with them. And that was a huge sacrifice, being a 1-income family in San Diego. We all know that. So I was having to do Teshra that way. But I was determined to do me. And I'm not too sure where that determination comes from, except for maybe just seeing the good and the bad and the huge differences that are out there in the world. Probably is where it came from. So I did dream job number 1, which was stay-at-home mom. And then dream job number 2 was working in a bank. I absolutely loved it. It was absolutely incredible. And then now I'm on to job number 3, starting my own company. And to answer your question, I think I do Teshra because of the experiences that God put me in. I think that's the only thing I can chalk it up to.
Yeah. We all go through so many different experiences, but it sounds like, what you, having seen such a spectrum, a dichotomy of, like you said, like very wealthy to, looking for scraps and things like that. I mean, literally, it's unfortunate, but I know there are a lot of people that can relate to that. And one thing that really stood out, what you said there, is just whatever you have, whether it's 10 cents or $10,000 or zero, a penny, you learn to do with what you have and you learn to appreciate what you have. And something that I feel very, very strongly about, and actually read this morning in a book, just the idea popped in my head, and then I saw it in a book, and I was like, okay, this is amazing. There's an old Jewish proverb that says that it asks the question, who is a truly wealthy person? And it says, one who is happy with what they have.
Yeah.
One who's content with what they have. That's truly wealth. That's true wealth. Because if you have 10 cents and you can get by with it and you're happy with that, that's called wealthy. You have everything that you need. But if you are always looking for more, then you'll never be happy. Because, if you have 100, you're going to want 200. If you have 100,000, you're going to want 200. And it's okay to want things, okay to, like you said, you need money to do things. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's being content with what you have, living and truly being in the now enables you to do what you really want to do. And instead of just always seeking more and more and more and more without actually experiencing and enjoying the moment. And I think that's what I mean with someone who's content. You're enjoying life with where you are, with whatever you have.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, and it really, it's a great place to be, because you really start to understand that no matter what money brings or doesn't bring for you, and no matter what your pursuit of money is or lack of pursuit, you really realize that you have no control over the tomorrows. There's only so much you have control over. And I would argue that your personal finances are probably one of the only things you have control over, which is kind of interesting, because you can, make arrangements, whatever. Right. But where I was going with this was, if you really understand that being content just in life, and the good and the bad, when you get that phone call and all your life just falls apart, that's awful. But at the same time, you're still living and you're still experiencing and you're still here. And you're still able to know that this is going to pass eventually, and you're going to grow and be stronger for it. But I think a lot of contentment and just enjoying life has to do with just kind of enjoy, not necessarily only the good, but just kind of enjoy, because we all know it's a roller coaster. We all know we never know what tomorrow brings, and that's kind of cliche, but it's true.
100%.
Yeah, I love that proverb. Yeah.
It's really just kind of where you focus your life, where you focus your energy and being. So love that kind of perspective. Any additional tip, and what you said about the QuickBooks businesses applying to your personal life, I'm definitely going to do that. I've never done that before. And I think a lot of people are going to kind of take that idea. Do you have any other quick financial tips or things you want to throw out there for our listeners?
I'm going to say that the 1 hour a week is huge. I think that's very important. You will go to your hairdresser. You will go to the gym. You will not miss a meeting with your therapist. You will not miss that monthly board meeting. But when it comes to sitting down with your money and saying, okay, what's going on? What's the plan? What needs to change? You need to do it an hour a week. And I think what most people find when they do get into a QuickBooks system is at first they're spending an hour, but eventually they're only spending 20 or 30 minutes, because they're like, boom, the information's there. I know what it's done. But it has to be a set time on your calendar. Right. Most people have their ideal week. Put that 1 hour somewhere where you're not tired. You're not going to put it off. Don't make it Friday at 4:30 when you're giving up, or your kid's going to call and you're out the door. Put it in a time where it is going to be, you need it every single week. And that's 52 times a year. That's 52 hours you are giving back to yourself, which I think is so, so important. So, yeah. That's
awesome.
That would definitely be my tip.
Love it. Yeah. Love it. I didn't think that I could be more impressed, but it's so powerful. You're absolutely right. Everything you need to schedule. If you want to be productive, you have to make an appointment. If something's important to you, make an appointment for it. Put it on your calendar.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I would kind of throw in there I've started to work with a lot of teenagers now with workshops, trying to get into the schools to give them some different perspectives.
That's a great idea.
They need a lot of this stuff, and they're getting a lot of the basics, but they're still getting the cultural, there's only one way to finance this type of mind shift. So anyway, when I asked them, I said, so how many of you know what stewardship means? They've never heard of the word steward. They've never heard of the word stewardship. And so then I have to explain to them, I said, you are called to be a good steward of what you have. So let's talk about money. You need to be a good steward of your money. Now, if you want to spend $1,000 at Starbucks in a month, I would consider that not being a good steward. But if that's important to you because you love coffee, you go and you spend time with people, whatever it is, you need to be making those choices of what's being a good steward. Because so many people sit back and they go, well, I wish I had this. I wish I had that. And I'm like, because you're not being a good steward of the things that you've been given. And again, if you've got 10 cents, you better be a good steward with that. If you got $10,000, you even have a bigger responsibility.
Yeah.
Be a good steward. But yeah, stewardship is a huge piece.
That's huge. It is huge. I mean, stewardship of money for sure, but just in life. And
Yeah,
I'm not surprised that
Yeah.
teenagers are not aware of that, you know?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's not what's being talked about on social media these days. Well,
I know.
gotta
And
make
they
some
talk about
changes.
gratitude. They do. They say, hey, you need to be happy. You need to be thankful. You need to be your gratitude journal. But I'm not talking about gratitude. I'm talking about stewardship. Because once you start doing stewardship, all of a sudden your gratitude just goes through the roof because you realize, or your gratitude tanks because you're not being grateful for whatever it is you have or your time or whatever. So I think stewardship is like the piece or like the stem or the roots that funnels the flowers of gratitude because
absolutely,
it's got to be there.
Absolutely. Well, Teshra, I'd love to transition now to what we call the final four. And these are four questions I ask all my guests. The first one for you is, what is the worst job that you ever had?
Worst job I ever had was I had just quit my freshman year at USC, finished out my first year, and I was in a very rebellious stage. And I was back home with mom and had to get a job. So I had to, at Balboa Park down in San Diego.
Oh, yeah.
I had to take out the ice cream truck and scooch it out, in Balboa Park and count all the ice cream, and if there was 100 ice creams there and I sold 20, there better be 80 when I come back. And so I would stand out there at the cart. And the funny thing is it was the worst job I had, not because it paid lousy or there was nothing to do but stand around. It was the worst job I ever had because here I was in Balboa Park, which is just absolutely a stunning place to be with all these happy people, selling ice cream of all things, right? Everybody's happy when you buy ice cream. And I was so ungrateful. And I just thought that, what, my life sucks. It's terrible. What have I done? I have messed up my college career. And so that's why it was the worst job I ever had.
Wow. Yeah, I can definitely see that. I mean, yeah, you're absolutely. Balboa Park is incredible. I used to spend a lot of time there when I lived in San Diego. But yeah, I mean, it's just really the mindset. That's what it comes down to.
It was the mindset. Absolutely. Yeah. And boy, I was miserable. I was so unhappy. Those 8 hours standing out there. I just remember, it's perfectly 72-degree weather.
Yeah.
Every single day. Yes. Yeah. So.
Second question, what's a book you've read that's given you a paradigm shift?
I have to say it's Ryan Holiday's Stillness is the key. In fact, I have it sitting right here because I do a book club and we were going to do another book. But I think this was a huge paradigm shift for me. And I think the reason it was a shift was because talking about gratitude, I talked about having my dream job, talked about being a good steward, being content. But I think part of the doing, you need to do you. I think there was this push to go, 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 go. And be still and know that I am God has always been one of my favorite scriptures. And I always thought I got it. But this book really helped me realize being still isn't about being quiet and not doing anything and just, shutting everything out. It's about being still in the moments, the chaotic moments, the unfrustrated moments, the exciting moments, because I think the stillness, if you can choose a level of calmness in your life as opposed to this, which life is going to be anyway,
right?
You do have control over that stillness. And when he says stillness is the key, I really saw the picture of somebody putting a key in a door going, I have the choice to open that door of stillness in any situation that I'm in. And so then that kind of popped me back into being a good steward. Am I being a good steward with my sleep? Am I being a good steward with who I'm surrounding myself with certain people? Am I being a good steward with how I'm eating or exercising? And so, yeah, that stillness is the key. I think it's huge. And so I loved that book. Loved
awesome. It. Well, definitely put that in the show notes, add it to the reading list. Sounds like a good one. And I definitely agree with the point. So love to hear more about it. Third question for you is, what is a skill or talent that you would like to learn? It could be anything.
I'm going to have to say I really have been wanting to go back. This is going to sound kind of funny, but I was actually fluent in Chinese by the time I graduated high school, because living in Hawaii, we took Japanese, Chinese, or Hawaiian. Those were pretty much your choices. And we started in 7th grade. So I was fluent. And then at 18, I moved to Los Angeles. And here I am in California. My husband's from Mexico. So then all of a sudden, Spanish was my 3rd language. And Spanish was so difficult for me. I was like, this is very difficult. Chinese was so simple.
Wow.
But then I never had a reason to use it. So that's 35 years ago that I haven't used it. And I would love to go back, and instead of doing a new skill or a new talent, I would love to go back and be able to speak again. And it's funny how God keeps dropping people who speak Chinese in my lap. In fact, he did it. There was 2 people at a conference I went to a few weekends ago in Denver. And I'm like, oh man, if I had just kept up with this, because it's in there, it's in my brain somewhere. I just have to pull it out. So, and that would definitely be a skill or a talent to try to figure out how to get back to that. So
Amazing.
I actually have some books at home. They're sitting on the desk. So it is on the radar, but that's it.
Okay. Definitely sounds like an interesting idea, but languages are an incredible thing if you can be fluent in them. So good for you.
Yeah. What languages do you speak?
I speak English, believe it or not.
Very well. No.
Hebrew, I'm fluent in Hebrew, and Yiddish, which Yiddish is like a combination of Hebrew and German. So I understand German. And Spanish, same thing with Spanish. Like I was pretty fluent in Spanish when I lived in California. I took it in high school, but I forgot mostly, because anytime I can understand like very, very basic Spanish, but as soon as I try to speak something, like Hebrew comes out or something like that. Like it doesn't, it's not in my brain fluent. It's definitely not fluent anymore, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing genre. The breadth that you got. Very cool.
So, not Chinese. I would imagine Chinese would be extremely difficult. That's what I would just assume.
Actually, believe it or not, it's one of the languages that has the least amount of rules. They don't conjugate verbs, and they don't have present or past tense for different words. They make it very simple. And then they don't have male or female, which is great. So it's very simple. And if you like to draw, writing is super easy. The speaking is a little tricky sometimes, but it's not that hard to learn. Usually like the first 2.5 years, they say you've learned all the major rules. So yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Very fascinating. Okay. I would have never thought.
So maybe if I learn some, I'll teach you something. How's that?
There you go. 4th and final question. What does success mean to you?
So success means to me having the ability to make choices each morning when I wake up that need to be made. And what that means to me is if I wake up in the morning and I'm able to attack my business, I have the energy, the sleep, the health, the wherewithal to withstand whatever comes to my business that morning. If I wake up that morning and one of my children needs me for anything, they need to go buy a new car, they've had an accident, they just need mom time, I can say, you know what? I could put my business second and I can move on to them, and that's more important. Freedom means to me knowing that if somebody had a real sincere financial need, they're about to lose their house if they don't make the next mortgage payment. Their car has died, husband has just lost his job. I have the funds to be able to and go and help them. And then freedom to me also means knowing that success and freedom is going to change on a daily basis. So doing a weekly review to make sure that I am staying in line with what I want that freedom to me. I can give you a good example. When I quit my W-2 job 2 years ago, back in September, almost 2 years ago, I really thought I knew what success was. And I thought one piece of that success was I want to be able to travel whenever I want to.
Right.
So in 2023, I was gone every single month except for 1 month. And by the end of the year, I went, I do not like to travel. That is not my thing. And so that was not freedom for me, but I thought that's what it was. So I think reviewing what it is that freedom means to you is very important, because times could change. Something could happen to one of my family members, heaven forbid. And I might say freedom to me is not having a business. I'm out of here. I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
So I think freedom and success has to do with weekly reflection. I think to make sure that you are pursuing what you really want on a weekly basis, because a bunch of years can go by and you might be down the wrong path.
Yeah. Amazing. Love that explanation and your definition in multiple facets. Really means a lot. Definitely relate to it in a lot of ways. So thank you very much. And thank you for joining me. This has been a lot of fun. Great conversation. And
so honored. So thank you.
Grateful to you for joining me. And finally, where can our listeners find you or reach out to you if they want?
Sure. So I am at TeshraDoYou.com. So, and then my email is also TeshraDoYou@gmail.com. Very simple. And I'm going to throw it out there. I have a phone number that people can reach me at, and it's 619-392-6187. So I love people to reach out and talk to me, and I'm very good about my boundaries. I only answer my phone when I want to, which is another point of success, I think.
Absolutely.
Boundaries. Yes, but I would love to hear from people, and I'm so here to serve. And whether that's working with me or just helping you with questions you have, if you're doing it on your own, get out there and make sure that you are really attacking your personal finances. It's a high priority. It's just way too important. So I'd love to hear from anybody or any comments or suggestions they have to help me serve you better. Absolutely.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we'll make sure to put all that in the show notes. And yeah, really, truly been a pleasure. And thank you to all our listeners for tuning in all the way to the end once again. And remember, until next time, the best advice comes only when you ask. Real quick, I have one question for you. Did you like this episode? If you did, I want to ask you a huge favor. See, the biggest thing that helps this podcast grow and that will spread this message to the whole world is that if you leave a review, a rating, and subscribe to the podcast. What that does is it basically tells the platforms that this podcast is out on is that you like my stuff and I'm doing something right. So take a few seconds out of your day, hit that subscribe button, leave a rating or review. I would be extremely grateful. Also, I want to hear from you guys. So I want to hear some feedback. If you have any questions for future episodes, please find me on LinkedIn. Send me a DM, a connection request, Yona Weiss, and I'd love to hear from you.